All right, now we're doing MDN Web Docs guides, getting started with the web, CSS basics. All right, so CSS, also known as, well, it's short for Cascading Style Sheets, is the code that styles web content. CSS basics is going to walk us through what we need to get started. So we're going to answer questions like, how do we make the text red? How do we make content display at a certain location in the web page layout? How do we decorate the web page with background images and colors? All right. So what is CSS? So like HTML, CSS is not a programming language. It is a it is not a markup language either. CSS is a style sheet language. CSS is what we use to selectively style HTML elements. For example, this CSS selects paragraph text setting the color to red. So this is going to set it to red. So we're going to try it out using the text editor. We're going to paste the 3 lines of CSS, this stuff here, above into a new file and save the file as style.css. Make sure it's style and not styles, because I did in rehearsal, I did styles and it took me a little while to figure out what went wrong. All right, and we're going to put it in the style directory. So let's just copy this over here, just like that. And we'll come over here and we'll start a brand new one, new file. And we'll call it style.css, all right? And we will throw it right in here, the styles, whatever it is, the styles folder. So let's create the file like that and do a Control-V to paste it in there. Do a Control-S to save it. And let's come over here, open up this index.html and check out what we got. So we got that big old red book. That's no good. That's not what we want. Let's go see. Hopefully I can get this taken care of. We can get this taken care of before I have to do it over again. All right, so let's look at this. To make the code work, oh, yeah. Okay, so we did that. So to make the code work, we still need to apply the CSS to the HTML document. Otherwise, the styling won't change the appearance, the appearance of the HTML. If we haven't been following the project, well, go watch the other 2 videos or 3 videos, however many videos we got, and that'll get you up to speed. Unless you already know, do what you want, all right? So we're going to open the index.html file and paste the following line in the head between the open head and close head. So we're going to come over here, copy this thing right here, come on over here. We're going to get them in the index.html in between these right here, so right after this title, and we'll do a Control-V like that and clean it up a little bit. Do a Control-S to save it. Okay, that should have worked. And now let's open it again. Cross your fingers. Here's the bad one, and red text. Look at that. Awesome. All right, so we're good now. So we do that. We save it like like we just did, and we should see something like this. Mine's black because I've got a screen darkener little thing going on, but yours may probably look like this. If the paragraph text is red, that means we did it. There we go. So here's the anatomy of a CSS rule set. So now we're going to dissect the CSS code for red paragraph text to understand how it works. All right, so this P is going to be the selector. We've got the color, it's going to be the property. The red is the property value, and all this is the declaration. All right, so the whole structure is called a rule set. The term rule set is often referred to as just rule, all right? And we're going to note the names of the individual parts. So the selector, this thing right here, all right? This is This is the HTML element name at the start of the rule set. It defines the element to be styled, or elements, of course, to be styled in this example, the P element. And to style a different element, we'll just change the selector. So this is going to target anything within the P. Let's go over here. I'll show you. So anything like these 2 things that are P's, it's going to target this, and we saw that in action right here. All right. So there's that. And there's the declaration, and this is the single rule. It's this whole thing right here. And this is a single rule like color red, and it specifies which of the element's properties we want to style. And then we've got the properties, and these are ways in which we can style an HTML element. In this example, color is a property of the P element. In CSS, we choose which properties we want to affect in the rule. Anyway, so yeah, this is the property right here, and just to let you know, it's only sometimes we're going to have background color, and I'm pretty sure there's other things that have color, like something hyphen color, but color here is by default targeting text, you know, and in this case it's the P text. All right, so let's go over here to property value. To the right of the property, after the colon, is the property value, and this chooses one of many possible appearances for a given property. For example, there are many color values in addition to red, millions of them that we could put right here. And so there's that. And then here's some notes. The other important parts of the syntax, apart from the selector, each rule set must be wrapped by these curly braces. So these right here. All right. Within each declaration, we must use a colon to separate. We saw the colons up there to separate the property from its value. Within each rule set, we must use a semicolon to separate each declaration from the next one. Sometimes, like, you can leave the last one off, the last semicolon off, because this takes care of it right here. This takes care of it not going into the next one. But we're just going to keep doing this just for best practice purposes, just because it's a good habit and it doesn't do anything if we add it. You know, it's just what? It's just moving your pinky, all right? No big deal. So to modify multiple property values in one rule set, we're going to write them separated by semicolons like this. So we would do something like red, we have a semicolon with 500 like this, border 1px solid black, and then just for best practice, they include that at the end. All right. So now we're going to be selecting multiple elements. We can also select multiple elements and apply a single rule set to all of them. We're going to separate multiple selectors by commas. For example, P, the line item, and the H1 are all going to be colored red. And we're not going to do that, but we know this is a thing, okay? Now let's go into the different types of selectors. And there are many different types of selectors, and the example above uses the element selectors, which select all the elements of a given type. But we can also make more specific selections as well. So here's some of the more common types of selectors. And we go into this in super detail with the free code camp, like I think the Picasso one, maybe even, and there's actually like the balance sheet one is a pseudo selector specific one. But anyway, let's get into this. So here's the selector names, what it selects, and the examples. So the element selector, the one we just did, sometimes called a tag or type selector. When it's selected, what does it select? It selects all HTML elements of the specified type. For example, the P selects the P tags or the P elements, all right? So now we've got the ID selector, and the element on the page with the specified ID is going to be selected. And on a given HTML page, each ID value should be unique. So we select the IDs with these hashtags right here. So if we have like P and then ID is equals my ID or something like this, it will, when we use this hashtag my ID, it will target anything with this inside of the element. Pardon me. And so now we've got the class selector. It's pretty much exactly the same as the ID selector. I don't really know the difference. The element on the page with the specified class. So multiple instances of the same class can appear on a page. Okay, so this is like a subclass, sub of P, I guess, and this just chooses specific one. So if we want to do one thing, we'll use an ID, and if we want to use a class of things, we'll use the class. I guess that's what that is. And to select that, we put a period in front of the name, like this: P class equals this, and A class equals this. All right. So, and that's what it selects. So now we've got the attribute selector, and this element, it selects the elements on the page with the specified attribute. So if there's something with like image source in it, it will go anywhere with this image source equals anything, honestly. But it won't do this because there is no source inside of this image, right? Pseudo class selectors, it selects the specified elements, but only when in the specified state. For example, when a cursor hovers over a link. So we do something like this: :hover. So whenever we hover over something, like right here, you see how that hashtag and that underline shows up. They're using an hover on that one. So it selects the anchor tag, but only when the mouse pointer is hovering over the link, like that. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. And there are many more selectors to discover. There's a ton of them. To learn more, we can see this right here. And if you really want to get into it, and you haven't already, the free code camp, we've got plenty of those, plenty of examples of using that. So now we've got the font and text. So now that we've explored some CSS fundamentals, we're going to improve the appearance of the example by adding more rules and information to the style.css file. Okay. So first we're going to find the font that we didn't do the other day, that we previously didn't save in this one. And we're going to add the link element somewhere inside the index.html's head, anywhere between head and close head, and it should look like this. First things first, we're going to go right on back on over here, and go right on down here, and to this font thing. So we're going to go to Google Fonts. All right, open this in a new tab. Here's the Google Fonts. We're just going to use this first one, Roboto, because, I mean, it doesn't matter. And so we just have to remember this name, Roboto. I keep trying to say Roberto. Roboto. And it should work. So let's come on over here. We're going to choose Roboto. So let's take this right here. We're going to copy it. And then we're going to put this inside the head. All right. So we're going to come over here to here. Here's the head right here. And drop it in here. Don't put it in this style sheet, even though it's there. We have to make a brand new one. So let's toss it in like thus. How about that? And that looks pretty good right there. Thing is, we've got this family equals open sans, and that's not what we're going to be using for our whatever it is, our font. So let's come back over here. So to change it, we're going to come over to this page. I'll show you real quick. What we do is we just do something like this. On this href link, we do font plus name. So if it's got two names, we put a plus in between them. That's what this means. But ours just has one, so we're just going to put Roboto, whatever. So let's go knock that out real quick. We're going to change this open plus sans. That's the name of the example one, and we're just going to put in here Roboto. Thusly. And let's just do a Control S to save it so we don't have to come back. Let's come back over here. We don't need to be on this page no more. So we're back over here. So this code links our page to a style sheet that loads the open sans, or in our case, the Roboto font family with our web page. So next we're going to delete the existing rule that we have in our CSS file. It was a good test, but we don't want all that red. And you ain't lying, chief. Let's come on over here, get this, see ya. All right, and let's see what they want us to do after that. So now we're going to add the following lines shown below, these ones, replacing the font family assignment with our font family selection from what will our website look like. So we're just going to put in here Roboto, and then we'll have sans serif, because Roboto does not have serifs in it, unlike Times New Romans. Hopefully you know what serifs are. Like these, you see how these little flags on the MDN, those are serifs. So like at the top of the D and at the bottom of the N's and the B, those are all serifs, just in case you don't know. So the property font family refers to the fonts that we want to use for the text, and this rule defines a global base font and font size for the whole page. Since HTML is the parent element of the whole page, all the elements inside it will inherit the same font size and font family. So let's do a little copy action here. We're going to drop this in the CSS. We'll just drop it right here where the other thing was. Let's change this open sans over here to roboto. Thusly, let's do a control S. Let's come over to index and do a control S just in case. I don't know. Maybe it's overkill, but we'll figure that out later. And now let's come back here. So note anything in CSS between this and this is a comment. So it's the same thing as the HTML comment, except for this one's more concise. So now we're going to set the font size. Actually, now that we did that, let's just do it. Let's open this one up over here and just to look. So you see this is real small now, so it is definitely doing something. Let's get rid of a couple of these, all right? And open this up again. So now we're going to set the font sizes for elements that will have the text inside the HTML body, the H1, LI, and P. So that's what we're doing here. We're targeting the H1 here, which is going to make it 60 pixels and center it. And then we're going to be targeting the P and the line items, which are going to be 16 pixels and all the rest of this stuff. What else do we got? We'll also center the heading. Finally, we'll expand the second, I just said that, second rule set with settings for the line height and letter spacing to make the body content more readable. So let's do a copy here. Come on over here. Drop it in right here on line 5, there. And do a control S. Let's come back down here. Let's open this up. And look, now it's a little bit cooler, all right? A little bit more spaced out, a little bit more readable, right? Let's get this out here. Actually, let's change this my test page because on the other one, I did it wrong and told you how to do it wrong too. Let's come back over here to this index.html. Where this title, Red Book Blues, it should be where this title is right here. So let's get rid of this one. Actually, let's do a control X on this, do this, and then do a control V here, and that should take care of business. Let's do that, open it back up, open a brand new one, and you see Red Book Blues just like that. All right, so now we've got this one up. Let's go see what they're talking about now. So we did this. We can adjust the pixel values as we like. Our work in progress should look similar to this. Yes, just like this, except, what is this? Mozilla is cool. I guess we got to put an H1. Let's put an H1 on there so that, so that we got something up here at the top. I don't remember us doing it before, but we're going to come here to where this image source is. We're going to say H1 like this. And then inside of here, let's just say Red Book Blues, all right? Or whatever you want. And then let's do a control S. Let's come over here. Open them back up, and look, now we got the Red Book Blues, and it pretty much looks like that. So now we're back over, my bad, here, and we got it. It pretty much looks like this. Let's go look again. This is a little big. We'll address this at the end of the end of the story or the end of the lesson, but it pretty much looks like this one, except for not the Firefox. So now let's talk about CSS, all about boxes. So something we'll notice about writing CSS, a lot of it is about boxes. And this includes setting size, color, and position. Most HTML elements on our page can be thought of as boxes sitting on top of other boxes. So just like this stuff. So here's a box here, here's a box here. This whole thing is a box that we can scroll. This thing's a box, this thing's a box, this thing's a box, or maybe this is part of this box, I don't know. This thing might be a box too, because you see it's got the same color, and this thing up here is a box, and this section's a box, and so hopefully you get what I'm talking about. And also here's a good way to, or a good example of how to cite a photo, like give credit for a photo. But we're not, anyway, there's how we would do that, but maybe we'll get into that later. So here's this. CSS layout is mostly based on the box model. Each box taking up space on our page has properties like padding, and that's the space around the content. In the example below, it's the space around the paragraph text. So this is the padding here, all right? Right here too. We've got the border and the solid line that's just outside the padding. So this stuff right here, that's the border. And then we've also got the margin, that's the space around the outside of the border. So this stuff all right here, all right? Cool, let's come down here. In this section, they're also using the width of an element, so they're making this a certain width. The background color, they're making it this gray color, which is the color behind the element's content and padding, basically. The color, which is the color of the text, usually. I don't know when it's not, but we'll figure that out later. Text shadow, you can see a little bit of shadow on each one of these. It sets the drop shadow on the text inside an element. And we've also got the display, which sets the display mode of an element, we'll keep reading to learn more. Okay, cool, thanks guys. So to continue, we're gonna add more CSS. We're gonna keep adding these rules from the bottom to the bottom of the styles.css, and we can experiment with changing values to see what happens. We'll do that, we'll do all the experimentation some other time. So here's HTML background color and this stuff. So this rule is going to set the background color for the entire page, and we're going to change the color to whatever color we want, but we'll just use this one. So copy this, come on over here, and inside of, was it the CSS that we were doing, or HTML? Okay, so that's CSS. We're going to come over to the style.css. Right here at the bottom, at line 16, we'll drop that in there. Do a Control S to save it. See if there's anything else we got to do. So that's going to set the background color for the entire page. All right, so let's open it up, see what it looks like so far. All right, we got this nice blue going on. Looks pretty snazzy, and it's. I swear I did not plan that for the Red Book blues. It just always happens like that in my life. Anyway, so let's come on over here. So now we're styling the body. Okay. So we're going to just copy paste this whole thing, and then we'll go over all of what's happening. So let's copy it, toss it right in here, right at the end at 19. Do another Control S. Let's do another open to see what it looks like. All right, so now we've got some style. We got this orange background, and all this stuff is centered right now. This is looking a little big, but we will, like I said, we'll address the size of this book at the end of the lesson. All right, so let's see what this is. So there's several declarations for the body element. So let's go through them line by line. So the width, 600. This is going to force the body to always be 600 pixels wide. That's what this is doing right here. All right. We've got the margin at 0 auto. When we set two values of a property like margin or padding, the first value affects the top and bottom, and in setting it to 0 in this case, yeah, that's what it's doing. The second value affects the left and right side. Here, auto is a special value that divides the available horizontal space evenly between the left and right side. So it's basically the same thing as centering, but a little bit different. So we can also use 1, 2, 3, or 4 values as documented in this margin syntax. And we'll get into what like the 4 values are, and then the 3s and whatnot. So now we've also got background color is this right here. So that's what made it orange, and that's going to set the element's background color. This project uses a reddish orange for the body background color as opposed to the dark blue for the HTML element. So let's come over here. So here's that orange, and here's this blue right here. Nice contrasting colors, Mets colors, whoever else sports teams colors. They know what they're doing, those professional sport marketers. So here we go right here, background colors there. We got padding 0, 20, 20, 20. So now we're going to talk about the when it's 4 values. It's the same as when it would be 4 values on margin. So this sets 4 values for the padding. The goal is to put some space around the content. In this example, there's no padding at the top of the body. Let's go look at that. So no padding up here. Is that true? Oh no, here's the body. So there's no padding up here. All right, according to that thing at least. Where are we? And 20 pixels on the right, bottom, and left. All right, so this stuff, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels. We'll figure this. What the? What's going on here? Anyway. Oh, okay. You see between the the eye, and that's the 20 pixels they're talking about. And since this is so short, we can't see the 20 pixels over here. All right, so that makes sense. Awesome. So now we've got the wait, let's fix this. So the values are set to top, right, bottom, and left. So it goes in clockwise order: top, right, bottom, and left. When there's four things like right here with the 0, 20, 20, 20. So top, right, bottom. Excuse me, top, right, bottom, left. Exactly. All right, cool. As with the margin, we can use 1, 2, 3, or 4 values. And it talks about it in this padding syntax. So now we've got the border. It's going to be 5px solid black. In this case, it's white because like I said, I'm using the screen darkener, and so it's white. And same with the text, it's white as well. But on yours, it probably will be black. So here we go. This sets the value for the width, style, and color of the border. In this case, it's a 5 pixel wide solid black border on all sides. So 5 pixels wide, solid and black. Awesome. Pardon me. Now we're doing positioning and styling the main page title. Okay. So let's just pick this up and throw it over here, right at the bottom, thusly. And let's save it. Control S. And then let's open another example of it right here with the index.html. And now you see Red Book Blues is now a little baby blue. And it's got a little shadow instead of what it was before, just white and nothing. All right. So now it's got a little bit more pizzazz, let's say. So let's go through this one. So we may have noticed there's a horrible gap at the top of the body. Not with this book. We can't tell nothing. But let's look. Is there a gap between this one and this one? Nope, I can't tell. Anyway, so we can't tell right now, but according to this, there definitely is one. So that happens because browsers apply default styling to the H1 element, among others. That might seem like a bad idea, but the intent is to provide basic readability for unstyled pages. To eliminate the gap, we're going to overwrite the browser's default styling with the setting margin equals 0. So that's what this one is right here. So next we're going to set the headings top and bottom padding to 20 pixels. So here is that to 20 pixels. 20, and then 0 on the sides. So let's go look at it. So up here with the heading, there's 20. This is a 20 pixel here, and then 0 here because it's just centered. You don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything with that. Let's come back over here. Following that, we set the heading text to be the same color as the HTML background color. Well, it's not the exact same, but it's good enough. Finally, the text shadow applies a shadow to the text content of the element. Its 4 values are: the first pixel value sets the horizontal offset of the shadow from the text, and that means how far it moves across. So let's come over here. You see it's coming out this way, 3 pixels from the B. So the black part's 3 pixels this way. And then the second pixel value sets the vertical offset of the shadow from the text, so how far it moves down. So the second 3, this second 3 here, this is the first 3, second 3, awesome. So it's going to bring it down 3 pixels. That's what this is right here. Now, let's see this. The third pixel value sets the blur radius of the shadow. The larger value produces a more fuzzy looking shadow. So let's come over here, and you see it's very crisp. That's because it's at 1 pixel right now. I guess if we put it at 10, it would be really blurry. We got time. This is so long. We'll do this. Let's put it at 10. Do a Control S. You guys can just chill and not do this. We'll just look at it for a second, and then turn it, and then revert it. You see how blurry it is right here, and how crisp it is right there. Blurry, crisp, blurry, crisp. Awesome. Let's get rid of this blurry one because it looks terrible. And then let's turn it back to 1 and Control S. So now it's back to normal. Let's come back over here and to here. And the fourth value sets the base color of the shadow. In this case, it's just going to be black, and we see the black shadow. We don't even need to go look at it. We're looking at it anyway. So it's black. There we go. So we could try experimenting with different values. Oh, well, we did the 10 to see how it changed. So now we know about that. So for centering the image, we can do image display block margin 0 auto. So it's going to center it because the margin we're not changing at all, and then the it's auto, so it's going to have the same space on one side and the other. So let's do a copy on this. Let's bring it on over here. Bring it down here to 32. Bring it on down here to 32. Drop it in like that. Do Control S. Let's open it up again. All right, get rid of this one. And we'll keep this one so we can see the difference. And what did we just do? Image block. Okay, so look right here, and let's come down here. You see how it barely moved? Well, that's just because this is so big. But once we fix it, it'll look great. So we're coming down here, and so next we center the image to make it look better. We could use the margin 0 auto trick. Isn't that what we did? As we did for the body. But there are differences that require an additional setting to make the CSS work. That's what we just did, though. Anyway, whatever. So the body is a block element, meaning it takes up space on the page. The margin applied to a block element will be respected by other elements on the page. In contrast, images are inline elements. For the auto margin trick to work on this image, we must give it a block level behavior using display block, all right? But we just did it this way, so it's no big deal. So note, the instructions above assume that we got a small picture, which we don't. If the image is larger, which it is, it will overflow to the body, which it does, spilling into the rest of the page, yes. To fix this, we can either reduce the image size, the image width using a graphics editor, no, or use CSS to size the image by setting the width property on the image element with a smaller value. So let's come on over here, and we're in here in this image one. We're just going to say width like this, colon, and we'll say, let's just do it half of the 600. Let's do 300. 300 like that. Make sure to get that semicolon. Control S to save it. Let's come on over here and open up it right there. That didn't work. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Don't be doing me like that. Oh, PX. Don't forget the PX after 300. PX, then Control S to save it. Let's open it up one more time. We remember what it looked like. Now we've got a small book. Big book, small book. Red book blues. That was some red book blues there for a second, wasn't it? But now we're getting a little bit better. So now it looks kind of like this. Nice. I like it. Let's come back over here, and here's another note. And we're not going to be too concerned if we don't completely understand display block. You're right, because we didn't even bother with it. Or the difference between a block element and an inline element. We will figure it out later. It will make more sense as we continue to study CSS. And we can find out more information about the current display value on the display reference page. Well, we could look at that later. And finally, the conclusion, if we followed all the instructions on this article, we should have a page that looks similar to this one. I don't know why it's not this color, but it's pretty much the same thing, right? Is this and this? I'm pretty sure this is darker than this, but it probably has something to do with these screen things. Yours is probably what it's supposed to be, all right? So it looks like this, just like we like, and we can view their version here, or just right here. If we get stuck, we can always compare the work to the finished example code on GitHub. We can just go over there if you want to check that out. And in this exercise, we just scratched the surface of CSS. No kidding. To go further, we're going to learn. We'll do this later. Learning to style HTML using CSS. So let's go on to the next one. Now we're on to the real stuff, JavaScript basics, and we'll see you next time.